Hey y'all, welcome back to the internet. This is Avery, and today exercise 2, part 2. Exercise 2, part 2. And in this portion of exercise 2, we take that 1024 by 1024 pixel 72 DPI RGB color image that we made in Photoshop by collaging a bunch of different images, smashing them together, watching as signifiers collide in Photoshop. We take that JPEG, we put it in Blender, we wrap it around a cube, we add a little animation on top of it, and then blammo, we bring it back into Photoshop. We add a text title to it, which was the text title that was generated so generously for us by Jim Plaxco and his algorithm. And here we go. So let's just save this out of Photoshop together if you haven't done it already. So first, we just want to save, and that'll save it as a PSD file. Cool. Now we'll do File, Save As. Save to whatever your situation is for here. And then we want to save it as a, right here, JPEG, okay? So save it as a JPEG. You can see I already have mine here. So just make sure you save that out. When you hit save, let's just do this. 0.2, so right, maximum's fine. The quality is up to you, but maximum makes for a slightly bigger file, but still it's only 706 kilobytes. Okay, I already did that. You will hit okay. Now we will pop over into Blender. All right, and here we are in Blender. So we're going to go through a bunch of different steps to set up our document for this wrapping of an image around a cube and for animating on top of it. So it's all here. I'm going to go through it fairly quickly, but you can stop the video and scrub back if you need to watch it again. So here's a splash screen. We'll go into General. We'll have the default cube, the camera, and the light, and we love that. Now, come over here with me to this panel, and we'll look at the top icon, which looks like the back of a camera, Render Properties. Please click on that. Our render engine is Eevee. Love it. Leave all of this, and we're going to scroll down to the bottom and change the color management to Standard instead of Filmic. That's a preference that you all can toggle back and forth and see the difference later on when you have your image. Now go down to the next icon, which is the Output Properties, and scroll back up to the top if you weren't there. And instead of 1920, we're going to do 880 pixels. So that will be the frame that we animate in. That will be what our camera sees, essentially, 880 pixels by 1080 pixels. And our frame will start at 1, but we're going to end this animation at 36. And instead, that won't be a second and a half, because we are going to, instead of doing 24 frames per second, right here, we're going to do 12. And you'll see that will default to custom right there, or we'll automatically change the custom. And that will help us have to make, well, essentially half as many drawings in order to have a 3-second animation. Love that. Now let's set where our files will be saved when we do render animation. So coming in here to the output, and if that is for whatever reason closed, you can expand it there. And it's right now defaults to a temp folder, but let's set our folder. So click on the folder icon, and then I have already created a folder there. But you all know that you can create a folder by just clicking this, name it, demo. Once you've created it, you actually have to double click to get into it, and then name your file. And then I like to have an underscore at the end so that when it names sequentially, like 001, 002, all the way to 036, that there's a separation between the name, the file, the main name, and those numbers. Hit accept, and now let's set up our camera. Right, did we do all the things we want to do here? Yes. So let's go to the camera view by hitting this icon right here, camera view. And let's click on our camera right here in the outliner. And now I just want to show you, you can move the camera around once you have it selected by hitting G. So we can, frame out our shot. Maybe you want the cube there, kind of like sneaky on the side, or right in the middle. I'm going to hit escape to cancel that move. But I also want to show you, oopsie daisy. Oops. Oh, let's bring up my screencast, y'all. I also want to show you that you can dolly your camera closer or further away from your subject. So if you hit G and then Z twice, so ZZ, you move the camera closer or further away. So this is not zooming. You're not changing the length of the lens. You are literally moving this non-literal virtual camera. Okay, cool. So that is that set. So now we can move on to the UV editor, where we're going to wrap our cube with our image. So we have this lovely tab situation that Blender has where we can now pull up the UV editing window. It's great because it sets up a UV editor window right here with our regular 3D viewport display. The thing we want to wrap our image around is this cube. So let's click it. And to do a UV wrap, we want to be in edit mode. So tab on your keyboard or come here to object right there and then go to edit mode. And you can see the default cube has already been unwrapped to this vertical cross. And we want to actually change that because we want our one image to be on all 6 sides of this cube. So come back, still in edit mode, make sure your cube is all selected. You can hit A. If for whatever reason it's not, hit A and it'll select everything. Double A deselects, A to select, and then hit U. U. And then this will pull up this window, and we want to do a cube projection for the UV mapping. Boop. And now all 6 sides of our cube, all 6 of those UVs are stacked on top of each other. So when we bring in our one image, it will be applied to all 6 of those sides. So let's bring in our image. Open. Let me just show you in case you missed it. Right, here we are. Open. And then find where your image is. That's an exercise 2 for me. And it is your JPEG, right? We want our JPEG image. Click on that. Click Open Image. And then it's there. There we see Bob Ross and our football players, our gods. Zoom out a little bit. And that's that. I'll hit A to highlight those so you can see that's the edge of those 6 sides, those 6 planes where our image will be applied onto it. But it's not there yet because we need to do a couple things. So I'm going to come out of edit mode, go into object mode, and then let's come down to our beach ball right here. Click on your beach ball, and we want to affect the base color. So, we can adjust the color that way. And you're like, oh, but I can't see it. Because remember, in solid shading, we can't see any of the material effects. But if we come here to the material preview, we can see it's affecting that. Cool, right? So that's how you change material. Remember that. So we want to, instead of a color, we want an image. So if we click in the yellow circle right here, and we go to Image Texture, now, because we already pulled our image into this document, instead of going to New or Open, we go to this icon right here to the left of New, click on that, and then right there is our JPEG. And there's our image. So we can get a little... So that's what it's going to look like. Beautiful. So while you're in here in the materials, you can affect, how the roughness, make it look a little more plasticky, or more roughness, less plasticky. All of this, you can up the metallic, see what happens there. A ton of different things you can mess with. I'm done messing with this, and I'm going to keep moving on. But let's save. So now we want to do something before we save. We want to make sure that this JPEG is part of the Blender file. In order to do that, it needs to be packed into the file. And in order for that to happen, we need to go to File, File, External Data, and then click. We'll select it so it's automatically packed into Blend. Boop. And then if you look right down here, we packed one file in, and that is our JPEG. Now, though, that didn't save it. Now we have to do Controller Command S to save, and then we will save this as whatever you want to save it as, demo. Save that file, and now it's saved. So now we can do Control or Command S to save at any point. Ugh, I love that. Now where we're at. Well, let's come back into layout mode, and this is good. I'm glad that this happened because it'll remind us that we, if we want to see it, we have to come to material or to the render. And then the rendered viewport shading will allow us to see our background, our world. So if we come to the world properties, the icon that looks like a globe, and, we can adjust some of these colors. And, that is almost, that's exactly what I want for my, my animation. Cool. So it'll disappear when you switch between these, but just so you know, you want to come here to the rendered shading to pull that up. Okay, I'll leave it there. Now, my friends, we are about ready to do our grease pencil animation. So our line animation that will be straight ahead. So pose to pose has keyframes. So you have an image and then another image, and then you have in-betweens that fill that out, that like sort of have a smooth animation in between those. That's pose to pose. We're doing straight ahead. So we just do draw frame 1, draw frame 2, draw frame 3, and frame 3 is like sort of a reaction to frame 2. Frame 4 is a reaction to frame 3. So it's a more organic way a more fluid way of animating, where you just drawing straight ahead and then reacting to the frame before, and kind of like anticipating what's going to come ahead, but just using your imagination instead of a reference, which would be a keyframe. So straight ahead animation. And we need to draw, and how we're drawing is with a grease pencil. And we want to add a grease pencil in. So how do we add something? We can go here to add, and then grease pencil, or we can do Shift plus A, and then add a grease pencil. And we want it to be a blank. Now you can see here this object data property switched, and it's this icon for a grease pencil. So if you click on that, we're going to add a new layer. That's step 1. So the new layer is there. Let's check this off. You can know this is something you can add later, but let's not use the lights. Okay, so check that off. And then come down here into strokes. We're still in the object data properties for the grease pencil. Come down to strokes, and instead of 2D layers for the stroke depth, we want it to be 3D location. Y'all with me? Boom. 3D location. Cool. Take a breath. All right. Now we set that, we set that, we set that. Okay. So this is a little something, but we're doing it, okay? So come down here until your cursor looks like this, and drag this up. This is our animation, what's it called? Our timeline view. Current editor type timeline. Yeah, for this area. We want to set this to dope sheet. I know. So click on the clock and come up to this column right here that says animation, and click the top one, which is dope sheet. It looks very similar, but it is a little different. So I just click this to pull out that summary so you can see it. And yeah, you got it. And instead of actually dope sheet, we want to set it to grease pencil, okay? You with me? So right here, it would have said dope sheet, but now we're going to set it to grease pencil because we're about to use the grease pencil. And you can see here we have this little keyframe already set, because with grease pencil, we can create an animation. Well, they're called keyframes. But there are lots of mixing of terminology. But just know that is great. We want to see this little white diamond right there. Okay. So now it's time to start drawing. And how do we draw? Well, we need to be out of object mode and into draw. And the things that we need to set up, so you saw right over here, object mode, and we went to draw. And let's work our way across the screen. So the first thing we're going to do is change from pencil. Let's go to pen. Let's move our radius up. You'll see what that looks like in a second. I'll do 101 for right now. Come down here where it says origin, click that, and we want this to be surface. Cool. And if your screen sort of looks like mine, your camera, and come into camera mode, I think we should all be in camera mode for this, or the camera view for this. If you're about this far apart, I think your surface, if it's the offset is 0.15, that should work. But the higher that number is, the further your line will be offset from the surface of your cube. All right. Now, let's give our pencil a material. So come. Actually, wait. As we work our way across, like I said, let's come here to the show overlays. So the icon that looks like a Venn diagram. Click on the V to the right of that and select down here at the bottom onion skin. We want to be able to see our onion skins. It's essentially the technique of flipping paper that old school animators or hand-drawn paper and pencil animators would do. We can do with the computer, where it adds a certain translucency to what was drawn before and then what was drawn after, depending on when you scrub back and forth in your animation. Okay? So then we can click out of that. And then the next thing we want to do is, well, when you have your material preview like this, you can actually click in the V there and scene lights and scene world, click those, and then you can actually see the colors. So it's a little bit different than the render, but it allows you to see, get more of a sense of what the final will look like. All right, and now we can come and change the material for our grease pencil. So come to the beach ball right here, click on that, click on a new material. We'll just, I'll call it the line. Then where it says stroke, if you can't, for whatever reason, you can't see that, click on stroke. And we want to change our base color to whatever you want. If you want a black, which is the default, cool. But I kind of want a really bright yellow. And you'll see what this looks like in about 2 seconds. So now, my friends, let's just start drawing. There you go. So I want to show you, I'll make it, so that's the drawing, and you can see that we've drawn on the surface of our object. It's kind of stunning. I mean, it's stunning for me. I hope it's stunning for you, but it doesn't have to be. But I want to show you too, do you see the difference between this and this? Well, there is no difference. That's because we selected use lights. There is a difference if you do use lights. Your line will not look as vibrant as the color that you selected for your material. So that's just for you all to know, something you can decide to do or not do. Let me just go, I'll just draw one more line up here. So you can see it's a little bit brighter. No, they're all like that. Anyway, that's use lights. So I have 3 circles here on 3 different surfaces. And I love that. I'm going to come back to my camera view. But that's not what I'm going to do for this demo. So now it's just good to know, once you make a grease pencil line, you can draw. I mean, you can erase it. There is this tool right here, which is the eraser tool. And it just erases. Cool. And did you notice how it erases? It's a little, well, it kind of looks like we've made, I don't know, like an Illustrator line maybe? Well, yeah, because it's composed of vertex points. So I'm going to hit the tab and I'm in edit mode. And you don't need to all do this, but I just want to show you that this line is composed of a ton of vertex points, which is lovely. That means we can affect them, which we can do with if you click on draw, you can come to sculpt mode, and in grease pencil, you can sculpt things. So you have a grab, you have a push, you can affect the object, and it's the same. You can hit F on your keyboard to expand the area that you affect, right? And it's pushing it into the object. I can pull it away from the object. This is something you can go crazy with if you want. I mean, it could literally drive you crazy how many things you can affect, how many changes you can affect. And then I can come back to draw mode, and there it is. Whoa, cool, right? I love it, but that's not what I want. So I'm going to use my eraser and erase this entire line, and let's start fresh. So that's just good to know that you can go into sculpt mode with your grease pencil and affect your the lines that you made, because they're essentially they're composed of vertices. They're vector-based lines, and they can be sculpted very easily. So coming back to my draw tool, and I'm going to just start drawing a straight ahead animation. And mine is just going to be a bunch of circles moving around. Yours can be whatever you want it to be. So play around with straight ahead animation, and this is the process for doing it. So make your first drawing, hit the right arrow, and that meant I went from frame 1 to frame 2 by hitting my right arrow. Then I can just make my second animation, and then you see right here, this is where I was. So this is the onion skinning that we turned on over here with the overlays. This might be helpful for you, or it might not, but it's there in case you need it. So you can know where you were. But right now I'm on frame 3, and this is still visible. So I know this is my drawing on frame 2. So right now, if I do a circle in frame 3, it disappears, but then leaves this ghost trace of it, okay? 4, right? I'm just moving my little circle around. You got it. Okay, I'm going to speed up this process, and you all can watch or not watch, but I'll see you at the other side. Okay, so I just, that was my straight ahead animation, and you saw I tried some things, but I just kind of free flowed with it, and I hope that you do the same. So in order to see this, you can just press spacebar, and you get a preview of what you just did. And at any point, you can go back and make some edits as you want, but I'm just going to leave it, okay? So now, my friends, we can just export this right away, but I'm going to show you really quickly if you want to move everything all together. Let's do that. So I'm going to come out of my dope sheet. I'm going to go to my timeline right here. I'm going to go back to my timeline. I'm going to get rid of my onion skins right now because I don't need to see those. So come right here to onion skins. I can also do that. I'll pull those on. I can also do that right here in my layer within my object data properties. So turn those onion skins off and hit save. Okay, now I want to move my cube with my grease pencil on top. In order to do that, I need to add a separate entity that will control both of them. And that entity, I'm going to scroll this out so you can see as I do this, that entity will be called an empty. So how do I add a thing? Shift A. Oh, that didn't work. Why? Because I am in draw mode still. So come back to object mode. Come back just to object mode. Yeah, okay, come back to object mode. And now I can hit Shift A. I can add an empty, which is down here. I'm gonna do plane axis. It's at my origin point, which is, in the middle of my cube. Hit 0, so I'm still looking through my camera. And now I want to parent. No, I want to make parent I want the cube and the grease pencil to be parented by the empty. So I'll show you what that means. So in the outliner, click on your grease pencil, click and drag it, and then you see where it says shift to parent there. So hit shift and then just drag it over top of your empty. That's it. Do the same with the cube. Click and drag, and then hit shift and drag it over your empty. And now your empty, I can control everything. I just hit G, right? I can control everything by just moving that empty around. And that's exactly what I want to do. So how do I create an animation moving my thing around? Well, this type of keyframing. So with my empty selected, need to make sure it's selected, I can hit I, and then this I'm going to do location, rotation, scale, and I'm going to move to, I don't know, 20, let's do 20, let's do 18, let's do right in the middle, okay? Right in the middle, or I guess it would be 19. No, 18. Well, you got it. And then I'm going to move some stuff. So I'm rotating my empty, which will move my cube and my grease pencil. I'm going to rotate it just sort of that way. I'm going to rotate it kind of this way. And then I'm going to move it a little bit. Move it up a little bit, just like that. Okay. Now I'm going to hit I, location, rotation, scale, and look at that. Everything moves together. Now I want it to return back to its original position. So in order to do that, I need to duplicate my initial keyframe. So I click on that keyframe so that is the only yellow one. And then I can just do Shift plus D to duplicate it. And now look, it's selected. I'm going to come back past the middle, the 19th frame, and go all the way to 36. And it'll kind of lock in there. Now if I hit spacebar, watch. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so save that, and now we're going to render out our animation. Render, animation. Okay, so now we have 36 frames done, and let's quickly go back into Photoshop. Who's with me, right? We're going to open up, so File, Open. Are you all really excited to see this? You have to be. Demo 2, Demo, navigate to where your files are, right? We went to File, Open, we're in Photoshop. Click on your first one, and this, remember, is where we hit Image Sequence. So click on Image Sequence. We don't have to select them all, we just have to select the first one. Then Image Sequence, hit Open. This is 12 frames per second. Remember, we changed it, so change it to 12 frames per second. Okay, so now it'll be a 3-second animation. Go to Window, we need Timeline to be visible. There it is. There's our timeline. I'm going to sort of scroll out here. And now let's click on our video group. We want to be sort of above our video group. And then we can hit T for the text tool. I'm going to drag it. It's in our video group, which I don't want, so I'm actually going to pull it up above the video group. And then, do you see what happened here? It moved it to the after our image, so that's why it has this kind of awful gray transparency looking cube grid. So let's drag that back to the beginning, and then we need to adjust the length of this so it matches our animation. Now it's just hovering over top of, oh my god, hovering over top of our animation, and we can move our playhead as we like. Cool. I need to change this to the title of my piece that was generated, and I can't even remember what it was. It was Artist Abiding in Artwork, right? Yes. I'll just copy this, copy, come here, select all, paste, Artist Abiding in Artwork. I don't need this. I don't need this. I'm going to select it all, make it a little bit bigger, make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to double click this to add a quick layer style. I'm going to do an outer glow. I'm going to do, yes, yellow. Oh, yes. I love it. I like the noise. Do I have noise, right? Yeah. A little jitter. What's the jitter? I kind of dig that. Okay. All right. Now I can hit play. And I got it. So, Artist Abiding in Artwork. Let's send this to a GIF. Export. Save for Web Legacy. It is 9 megabytes, which is, is pretty big. So I like to, I like the artifacts that are left when I add lossy. So I'm going to up the lossy to 56. And I went to 3 megabytes, which is pretty great. You can see it's all grainy and weird. And 880 by linear, great. We want it to be forever. You can also change the amount of colors if you need to make this smaller. So what happens if we just do 32? It doesn't go down that much, but it goes down to 2.3 megabytes. But we lose a lot of information. So let's go 256. And then we hit save. And now, my friends, we are done. We've made a lot of different things. We've learned a lot. It's been really fun to be together for all of this time. I hope you enjoyed your time. Now you have an animated GIF. Whew! I won't even talk through all the steps we went through, but we made something really cool. I'll see you next time.